Welcome back to Everything Whiskey. I'm Callum.
I'm Sam.
Today we're looking at our top 10 whiskies in our collection.
Alrighty, so today we're going to be doing the top 10 of our collection at the moment. It's kind of like top 10 of 2022 or whatever, but it's going to be constantly changing because it's just our collection as it is right now. We got recommended this idea.
Was a top 5.
It was going to be a top 5, but
we couldn't decide on 5.
yeah, and we're like, oh, how about you do your top 5 and my top 5, and then we're like, well,
it's the same video,
the
kind of.
same
Yeah.
goddamn video. Alrighty, so I'll start. This one is no surprise whatsoever to anyone who's been watching us for pretty much any amount of time.
Yeah.
We'll be doing the rare breed.
It's not in any order as well, by the way.
Yeah, no order. There's no point. Some of these are too different to be able to stack up against each other in any sort of way.
And we're also not going to be drinking 10 whiskies. We'll probably have one every couple.
Put
Put it up here.
We'll just see how... we'll put them as we go. So, rare breed to start off with. Yep. We'll give a brief kind of explanation as to why, but it's going to be self-explanatory for most of it. Rare breed, Wild Turkey Distillery, super underrated distillery for the most part. It's probably not as underrated as it was. It just, for us, flew under the radar initially, but now it's become one of our easily top 3 distilleries.
It's just because it's so mass-produced.
Yeah, exactly. I think that makes people look past it when they're in like that kind of like really appreciating
like
whiskey.
Kind of,
yeah, when they
Jack
get past
gin.
that and they're like really, into whiskey, they might look at that as a bit too mass-produced. But it's insanely good. Rare breed is cask strength. So it's a barrel strength release from them. And it's here in Australia, it's about $99, like constantly wherever you go. There was a weird shortage very recently in the past 2 months.
It was about a month and a half of not being able to find it.
But before that, I've never struggled to find it before. So hopefully that was just a blip. But really, really insanely good cherry bomb bourbon. Like if you're into that kind of style, it's decent percentage of rye in the mash bill. So it's got nice complicated herbal notes, but otherwise just a kick with the cherry, sweetness, brown sugar, stuff like that.
It's just really well balanced.
Yeah. So about $100 here in Australia, 58.4%, and readily available.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong.
Number 2 on the list is Glendronach 12. It's actually been a while since I've had this.
It's been a while since I've had it too.
We put it on here just because it's a major sherry bomb. Basically a dessert whiskey.
Yeah.
Out of Scotland. Is it Highland?
I think it is Highland, but...
Yeah, Highland single malt.
There's not much to say about it other than like, if you're into sherry, not cherry, like we said cherry bomb for the Wild Turkey, this is a sherry bomb. So you're...
really sweet.
Yeah, fortified wine. So if you're into sherry finishing and like you want something that's really sherried, this is one of the, there's a few I'd go to, but for me personally, for us, this is what we lean towards if we're not looking cask strength. This is a great one to bring out like at a nice dinner with people. It's 12 years old, age statement, really nice and smooth. It's got that sherry kick. It is really a serious dessert whiskey. Like you'll sit down and it has that fortified wine sweetness kick.
It's well balanced, a little bit of malt, not overpowering though.
There's not too much maltiness or that kind of mildew taste that we've often described. It's just seriously that kick of sherry. It's a dessert whiskey for us. You break it out after dessert or after dinner, whatever you want to do. Goes amazingly with things like cigars or whatever. But yeah, absolute banger of a whiskey.
It's also about 110-ish, I think.
It's about 100.
100?
Yeah, unless it's changed.
Normally
it's around the $100 mark. I think it's 40%, 41 maybe.
Yeah.
43, yeah.
43?
Being 43, yeah, 43%. So yeah, for another reason why that might be another one to bring out when you got guests over. It's not like, a serious kick with like the Wild Turkey with proof. People who aren't as into whiskey as you can still most likely appreciate it.
Even wine drinkers will appreciate this.
Yeah, it's just an all-round dessert sweet whiskey. Number 3. So I kind of want to pour this at some point. We won't do it right now because we're still going, but Laphroaig Lore. This was on our radar for a while because of Whiskey Vault, but it took us a while to actually get around to buying it because availability here in Australia is not great. Price is not low either. It's like that $140, $150.
I thought it was higher than that.
No, I don't think so. But still not cheap, and it's not got great availability here.
I also haven't seen it.
That's bought it, and I bought it off Nick's. But yeah, so it's an experimental, non-age statement one from Laphroaig. Laphroaig is a kick-ass Islay distillery, super smoky, peaty, briny. But the Laphroaig specifically has got wine finish, wine cask finishing with it. So you get a really cool kind of combination of the really briny Islay side of things, but also with a really cool kind of sweet sherry kind of impact with it. It's
extremely challenging.
It's a weird balance.
So,
but yeah, no, it's not easy. So definitely not one you'd break out to the guests.
Even if you're if you're looking to get into Laphroaig, I probably wouldn't start with Lore.
No, it's too expensive to start with because you might not like it.
I reckon it's a bit sharp as well. There's a weird sharpness that I find in the Lore.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of the wine barrels.
Yeah, it's 48%, so that's probably where the sharpness is coming from. It's a bit higher in proof, but super unique. And if you're into Laphroaig or Islay at all, Lore is like a must try for everyone. It's just insanely good.
Alrighty, number 4, Texas whiskey. What?
Oh no, you mentioned that.
Texas number 1, or single malt one. One of the very few that we have access to, Texas distilleries.
Yeah.
I think there's this and Yellow Rose are the only two.
Yeah.
But this is outstanding for the price. It's pretty expensive, about $140, $150.
This one specifically, yeah. But Balcones, you can get their entry level stuff, the baby blue. You can try that for much, much less, around the $80, $90 mark.
This is a lot better than the baby blue. Personally,
It is for us a lot better. We got not much left, and we drank a lot of it very quickly because it was so good. It was our first one from Balcones. No, second one. We had Brimstone first. Balcones, I have been raving about them non-stop. They're literally, again, top 3 distilleries. This one is probably my personal number 1. I'm obsessed with Texas whiskey. It's got a uniqueness that you don't find anywhere else. It is that Texas flavor.
Yeah.
And Balcones has been like just absolutely smashing it. Like there's a lot of stuff that we do not have access to, and it gives me nightmares. I wish to God we could find a lot of the stuff. Same that goes for other distilleries in Texas. I really want to try, but we don't have access to. Luckily, we do have access to a few of Balcones' like core range.
We get the majority. There's a lot of Balcones on Nick's.
There's a decent amount now on Nick's, yeah. But the Texas single malt classic edition, 53%. It's got a kick.
It's got that classic rubbery note that
it's just classic. I describe it as like this little wax seal. If you can imagine them doing that, that's kind of like one of the notes in this whiskey. It's like that hot wax. It's like a bonfire with a couple tires and a nice Texas barbecue.
But all the Texas
brisket.
whiskeys have that note.
Yeah,
it's not just this.
Yeah.
This kind of, it's well balanced with the sweetness in the whiskey as well.
It's bourbon, but with all the caramelized notes cranked to the maximum and the more sharp herbal notes turned down. So it's much, for me, it's barbecue, it's Texas barbecue, and it's sticky date pudding with a little bit of bonfire, like kind of like rubbery notes with it as well.
Yeah, with melted rubber. Have you tasted it? It's very floral. I don't remember it being that floral.
Salted caramel, sticky date pudding, Texas barbecue, like a nice kind of salt rub.
Yeah. But there is a very prominent wax note.
That aftertaste is insane. This is the oiliest one whiskey I've had in a while. I forget how long. Like it's still going. I'm getting coffee now. Like coffee and cocoa is like is the aftertaste. It's like a coffee rub. It's so thick, oily, meaty,
heavy,
dense, and caramelized. Like it's sweet and caramelized. Everything about it is like this overcooked caramelization.
It's really nice.
And it is insanely good. If you're into bourbon, I would be very surprised if you didn't like it. Scotch only drinkers, it'll be a very different experience, but
it's very different to bourbon though.
Yeah, I know it is, but it's
a lot more intense.
At least it's in that same direction. Though.
Yeah, you can see the similarities.
Scotch is very, very different.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you've got to try something from Balcones. They're just, I think, honestly, if I'm going to say distillery, my favorite of this year and probably last year as well, Balcones is it. All right, I'll bring it up. Next one, we got a bourbon again. Well, technically bourbon, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So this one is obviously it's a favorite of ours. We knocked a clearly lot through it in a short amount of time and then had to really backpedal. This was a donation from Roy.
That probably makes it my favourite whiskey in our collection, by the way.
Yeah, that I know, it helps. It adds so much to it, the fact that Roy donated this to us. But also, we can't really find this here in Australia. He brought it back from America.
On Nix you can now.
You can now.
It was
good because I need to replace it.
When I bought the 1870, that was next to it. So
because this is so goddamn good. Like, it was such a good pick. Like, I don't know. Like, I had faith in you, Roy, but like, we didn't know 100% like what kind of, you know.
I mean, we'd only had the baseline Old Forester.
Yeah.
Actually, have we?
Yeah, no, we had, I think. But yeah, no, so this is 57.5 Prohibition style, 1920. It's, I don't know how to describe it. It's just so cranked up. It's like everything about bourbon cranked to the max.
It's insane.
It's like that Booker's kind of stag effect where it's like just everything cranked to the max.
But
less barrel bitterness.
And a lot more cherry.
Yeah, and a lot more cherry, which is like right up our alley. So
it's along the lines of rare breed, but without the... It's less sweet with more herbaceous notes.
Yeah, it's more dry, but it's still got a nice cherry kick. It's really fruity and a nice like pear apple kind of like a juiciness to it.
Don't even know why I noticed I'm drinking this still.
No.
I was like,
oh, far out. It's got a nice earthiness to it. It's got such a kick. It's such, it has to be in our like winter bourbon, best bourbons in winter list as well.
Number 6 on the list is the Ardbeg Uigeadail. Stop making those weird noises you keep throwing me.
Sorry.
One of our favourite distilleries. Probably top 3, I would say.
It's, top 5. These things are kind of like constantly changing. But yeah, Ardbeg has been there for years.
Breach it out of top 5.
Yeah.
All of Ardbeg's releases we love.
Yeah.
With one exception, maybe the drum. That's a bit iffy.
Was like okay tasting. It was just overpriced and overhyped.
The Uigeadail nails all the core Ardbeg notes that everyone loves, but cranks them up because it's cask strength. What is it? 59?
50 something.
54.2.
Yeah.
So it's still up there, still quite
cranked
high.
up. It's just those beautiful barbecue notes with some softer notes added in. It's got some nice fruity notes added in there that are not normally as present. But it's really strong. It's still not
intense.
Like it's really, really intense, but the balance and like cohesion of it is unlike many whiskies you can find. Now it is expensive. It's like the 150 mark here in Australia.
Yep.
Assume it's less everywhere else because that is the nature of the beast. Like it's just cheaper. Anything is cheaper.
Thank you, Australia.
Than here. Yeah, thank you, Australia. Dealing with the new videos we're going to be bringing out hopefully soon with making our own whiskey is a nightmare thanks to Australian Lore. So cheers.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ardbeg in general amazing. It could be any of them up here, but Uigeadail is just a different beast. It's just insanely good.
When considering the rest of the lineup of Ardbeg,
yeah,
that one's head and shoulders over all of them, I would say.
Yeah, it really is. Like for me, like another competitor is Corey Vrecken, just because it's like such a kick.
Is that the one above this?
Yeah,
price-wise?
And it's a bit more high proof. I think it's 57 or something, but it's nowhere near as balanced or cohesive. Yeah, the Uigeadail is just like the best of absolutely everything Ardbeg has to offer. Alrighty, so next one we got here is the A'bunadh.
I forgot we even owned this, to be honest.
I forgot too until we were thinking about like what we're going to include in this list. This is pretty much the end of it, and it's been there for a while, so it's not going to be the same beast that it always happens. The same beast that it was when we first popped the bottle.
I think the last time we drank this was when we compared the A'bunadh that you had to this one.
Maybe.
Which was 2 years ago, maybe, on the channel?
I don't know.
A long time ago.
But A'bunadh, so it's in the similar kind of like, it's the same region as Glendronach. It's Highland. I think some labels say Speyside, but there is like a crossover there, so it's much of a muchness. But it's a Scottish, heavily sherried single malt. This one specifically is going to be your cask strength version of that. Now, there are deliberations about which releases batches are better than others, and there is quite a heavy opinion on some being much better than others. That's not incorrect, but I feel like overall the quality of all of them are still fantastic and worth picking up. It's just that cherry kick, but instead of the raisins and dark fruits, it's that except cranked to like a sticky date pudding with this kind of, it's so cranked up that it adds like salt to it. It's like that
honey glazed as well.
Yeah, it's like that salted butter sticky date pudding kind of.
It is very floral though. Give it a taste. Very floral, very sweet, but it's a kick in the ass because of the proof, obviously.
It's so fruity though. Like it's so sticky date pudding for me.
Yeah, there is a bit of chocolate on the nose as well.
Oh yeah. Crap, that's so heavily sherried. There's not even the
sweetness.
That maltiness that I historically am not a fan of with
doesn't
scotches.
exist.
It's too heavily sherried.
Yeah.
It just overpowers everything.
That honey on the
and
end.
it's amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
It's seriously sticky date pudding in a glass.
Yeah.
So if that's up your alley, this probably should be too.
All right, next on the list, we've got a local one to us, the Mountain Distillery, which is about 50 k's away from us. So it's an Australian whiskey, Victorian precisely. The Mountain made it on the list mainly because of its uniqueness.
Yeah.
This is aged in red gum, which is an Australian eucalypt.
Yeah.
Which is, I think it's one of two in the world.
That are not poisonous.
The tree. I'm talking about the actual whiskey itself. It's like one of two in the world.
Two distilleries who have done red gum barrel aging.
Both Australian,
and
obviously.
There's two types of eucalyptus that are not like deathly poisonous to do so. So it's very unique. We've described it in our
very
videos
odd
as
flavour.
like tasting red, like red smoke. If you've like burnt certain types of redwood
We say that, it doesn't
on
mean
bonfires, then you kind of know what we mean. It's this kind of really dry type of ashiness. It's not that briny peatiness. It's this very, very dry type of ashiness.
Like campfire ash.
Yeah. Look, we wanted to add something that isn't just a bourbon or an Islay to the lineup, and we wanted an Aussie because we're Aussie.
We say that. I genuinely
but
enjoy this.
Yeah, for me, like I have to, it's small portions. Like I can't drink a lot of this because it is very overpowering. It's
extremely high proof as well. It's like 60%.
It's 60%, I believe.
58.
58%. But it's so unique and weird. But it does kick ass. Anywhere in Australia,
specifically Victoria.
Yeah, look, you possibly can get it anywhere in Australia, but I know you can get it in most areas in Victoria.
Most stands.
If you can get it shipped across state lines in a different state in Australia, you should definitely be able to get hold of it. There's a decent amount of stock, a lot more stock than we thought initially. We did the pre-order.
Sold a lot.
Yeah, we got the pre-order because it was very limited. But there's actually a lot of stock. But that's good. Look, overall that's good in the long run. We want more people to taste it.
It's very cool,
expensive though. Very cool bottle. Yeah, what is it?
190.
Is it? Yeah, it is. It's 190 bucks.
I
It's
paid
not cheap.
$2.20 for it.
You did. Came with a cool box because
Yeah.
of that though. But yeah, no, very cool bottle and incredibly unique whiskey.
Very intense.
Yeah.
Flavorful.
But if you're looking for something that is a serious like ball out of left field, I can't name another whiskey that really hits you with a curveball more than this. It's just very, very weird. But if you're into your Islas and stuff like that, and you're into Aussie whiskey, this is a weird culmination of those with notes that are also in neither of those in the
with a bit of
sense.
Texas rubber note as well.
Weird. So if you can find it, try it. If you're around these parts, maybe we'll give you a try as well. All right, second to last, obviously no order. We said before, Octomore. We've been Pete heads since like 12 months into trying whiskey ever.
Yeah.
Like it's just. Look, we've been so heavily like head over heels for bourbon lately, and I say lately meaning like 3 years. But every time we go back, heavily peated anything is still just so good. And Octomore, you can't look past heavily peated and not mention Octomore. This specific one, not like this one's good, but we're not saying this 10.1.
Yeah.
Any of the Octomores really just are also unique and kick-ass. They're so deep into the peat kind of like Isla zone that they cross a weird road and turn into cheese and savory cheese and bacon balls and stuff like that. It's just weird. You do get a lot of variation with the different Octomores, but for the most part, pick up the anything 0.1s, and you're going to find a lot more availability and affordability. The rest can get really crazy with prices.
I mean, they're all pretty ridiculous.
I know, like 220, 230, but like if you go above, like into the later point, fives
the older
or whatever,
ones, obviously.
they're more unique, less of them sold, and they can get like in the 500s and stuff like that. They can get really crazy. But even if you're at a bar and you see any of them, sometimes they look like this. Sometimes they're this fogged clear. Sorry, not fogged clear. It's a fogged like just plain glass without the.
That's what it is. It's a clear glass.
It's clear glass, but it's got a smoked glass kind of texture to it.
It's always shaped like this though.
Yeah, they'll all look like that. But definitely give it a try. They're all in the 60s. They're all cask strength. There might be a couple that are in the 50s. I'm not sure. This one might be one of them. This is 59.8, so basically 60. But the other one is 60 something as well.
I think 61.
They're never going to be easy for a single human on the planet. They're meant to really
throw you around.
They're meant to knock your teeth out. That's the whole goal of it. But if you're into that, they do it better than anything else.
This whiskey is one of the only whiskeys that can send me absolutely sideways at any time of the day. Like, the intense cheesiness of this is ridiculous. It's like what you said, the cheese and bacon balls, those little orange
things. This is the
less peated one than the other one.
The whole thing with Octomore is it's the Bruichladdich distillery. Again, one of our top 5 distilleries. Probably said that more than 5 times now that I think of it, but it's a fantastic distillery. It's one of our favorites. And the Octomore, the reason they created it is they wanted to create the highest peated whiskey, and it's measured in ppms, and it is not always like the best way of measurements, because depending on where you cut when you distill, you get more smoky flavor and stuff. But on paper, Octomore has the highest ppms, but honestly, as much as we mention like how these kind of measurements don't make a whole lot of sense to pay attention to because they don't always translate to bottle, when it's Octomore, it always translates. It's always insanely peaty, like no matter what. So this one, even though it's pretty low in the ppms in the grand scheme of, Octomores, it's
ridiculous.
Yeah, it still pushes me up against the wall and slaps me red.
That's what I like about it though. In comparison to the other Octomore, that is nothing, but it still throws you around.
Yeah.
I think it's about a quarter of what the other one is that we have.
It's like halved or something like that. But yeah, insanely good, insanely like strong and hard to handle, but
there's so much sweetness though as well.
Yeah, this one's quite balanced. It's a little bit green in the way it's like you can tell it's quite young or not
young.
You can tell it's not quite like it could do with a little bit more age to it. But for the sake of being like a real kick, that kind of not super old amount of time spent in the barrel actually kind of helps that. Knob
Creek 9 is the last one on the list.
Yeah, Old Faithful.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with a Knob Creek, can you?
Yeah, look, we probably should have ended with something a bit more of a bang, but this is just, it's Old Faithful. It's always around,
always reliable.
It never varies with its quality. It's never overpriced. They did a bottle redesign, which is really sick. It's got like a textured glass. They've got the age statement on here now. Honestly, we did like 2 reviews. We did like an old bottle one, which was and then we found this, the 9-year-old. Yeah. You mentioned after, you're like,
I think it's the same whiskey.
Look, it's around for about $90, I think, is normally where it
well
sits.
Priced as well.
For 9-year-old bourbon, which is, if you're like from, if you're in the world of Scotch, it might seem young. 9 is well enough for bourbon. The change in temperatures there with their climates, you get more color out of that than you do with an 18-year-old Scotch a lot of the time. So it's pretty old for a bourbon. A lot of them sit around the 4 or 5 year mark, honestly, anyway. What is it, 50%? 50? Yeah, it's 50%. It's just really balanced. Like, it's got a decent percentage of rye in its mash bill, but nothing super high. But otherwise, it just ticks every box of a fantastic quintessential bourbon. Yep. But it's always available. It's always reasonably priced and it always tastes good. It's hard to not put this on the list. We're looking for a good kind of like 10th one. We thought, why not something that is just seriously always going to be on our shelf anyway. But yeah, look, this is our top 10. It was different 12 months ago. It's going to be different in 12 months. That's kind of why we do these things.
I love how it just changes because we just keep buying whiskeys.
Yeah. Look, there are things like Balcones. There's going to be a Balcones, some sort, in this for like ever. For
Same with the Wild Turkey. I guarantee that.
There's going to be a Wild Turkey, a Balcones, an Ardbeg. I feel like there's always going to be one. Yeah. But yeah, look, that's our top 10. Definitely let us know what your top 10 would be, or even like your top 3. What are just your favorite whiskies you have ever tried, because if we can read those comments and see some ones that we can actually buy, we'll be doing those for sure. So let us know what your top whiskies are this year, and let us know what you think of this list. But yeah, if you enjoyed this episode over in the Whiskey, leave us a like. If you want to see future episodes from us, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button. If you do, see you next one.
Cheers.